That's fine. I mean,
I just want...
Can I, look, we'll type it up and we'll treat it as a request.
You can't do
No. I don't need to move. The thing is, we're discussing something you haven't seen with respect. So if we put up what has been suggested, we can request it as a request. Councillor House, back
Thank
to
you. I've only spoken once today, Madam Chair, so I'd quite like to be able to speak twice. I think this is just getting a little bit more heated than it actually deserves. I think Councillor Cooper is quite right. In the next council, when we start the LTP, we can look at absolutely the future of this fund. You know, the days of jam jars with bits of money in them have long gone, and the best thing we could probably do is to make wise decisions for our ratepayers on the sensible use of this money. The other thing is, however, I see nothing wrong with us if we are going to keep some of it, all of it, a portion of it, for actually running the comb over it or the scale over it or whatever you run over it, exactly as been done here, with a little bit more time and care to make sure that if we are going to hold any money in investment, that it is ethical. Nothing wrong with that. And the third thing is, I do understand the concerns people raise. They're quite valid. On the other hand, I don't think we need to beat ourselves to death, because, you know, I was going to also make the point, I have a very small amount in KiwiSaver. I have no idea what that's invested in. I'm sure most of you who get superannuation haven't got the foggiest idea what's in your superannuation fund. And, you know, that's just kind of the grim reality of life. Doesn't mean to say we need to repeat that. So I think in the next term, if we are going to hold on to anything, let's invest it ethically. Let's be a bit tough. And as Councillor Darby says, there are good ethical investment agencies. My passion is getting out of investment in climate change exacerbators, and I think that's, for me an equal thing. Chocolate, neither here nor there. I personally couldn't survive without it, and I don't think chocolate's unethical. But I certainly agree that smoking is. So, there you go. Let's have a jolly good look at it next time round and do better.
Yep, thank you. Councillor Watson.
Thank you. Yes, I don't think the ratepayers would be too impressed with both the speed with which we decided to sell down this fund and the discussions today, where there doesn't seem to be a lot of care and attention given to how the rest of it might be divested. It's not really too impressive. It's a lot of money. It was making us a good return, and anyway, that decision was made. But I think in terms of the points that some of the other councillors made with regards what the funds invested in are very valid ones. Like it or not, the standard required or expected for a public entity is different from a private one. And if there are areas where those investments that we become aware of are inappropriate, and a number of them are clearly inappropriate, you don't have to start drawing lines between examples that are token and ones that would cause real concern. You just can't be seen to be investing in a number of these areas, and we should do the right thing and withdraw accordingly as we become aware. I understand the complexities of some of the investments or mechanisms for investing that go along with this, but it's simply not acceptable for a council to be seen to be compromising itself in investments that its people would have concerns about. We're not taking money from the ratepayers, but it is their money. They own it. So we have a duty of care to ensure that that's invested in a way that's at all times ethical, particularly as it goes to some of the areas that are controversial. So I'd just like to signal my support for the councillors that have raised that issue, and I don't think it should be one that should be dismissed quite so easily as it has been thus far. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cashmore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Certainly we have an ethics investment policy, and we need to find a mechanism that can be adhered to. The quandary, of course, is that once you have 1 arm's length, in our case 2 arm's lengths, back from the coalface to those investments decisions, the correspondence and communications become somewhat truncated. And in fact, if you do have a diversified portfolio investment with whatever company, financial institution or instrument, They don't notify you every time they swap and change chairs. The fluidity of movement of funds around those capital share investments or other instruments is exactly that. It's fluid, and it's about returning the maximum amount of investment. So I understand completely Councillor Darby's point about making sure our ethics policy is adhered to. Let's look at that policy and decide how high that bar up is. Because does it include chocolate? Does it include mineral extraction? Does it include health companies who are using science investigating the possibility of GMOs to cure incurable diseases? Where do you draw that line? And the officer's viewpoint that what's ethical to one is not to another is a very valid one. So let's just, breathe, look at the policy next term, and then decide what we're going to do with the fund. But bear in mind the actual financial markets do not inform investors of their fluid movements.
Thank you. Councillor Clow.
I just reinforce what Councillor Cashmore has been just said, and others, and I agree with us looking into it. But in deciding over the annual plan that we would exit those funds over time, a big underlying thing is we do it in a judicious and prudent manner, and I just want to make sure that that doesn't change regardless, that we do it in a prudent manner.
Yep. Okay, so it is not a recommendation. It's just that we request that this committee, and it's not a recommendation, do we agree to request the Chief Executive to undertake a review of the responsible investment policy and report back to the incoming council? Do you all agree with that? Are you all happy with that?
It probably needs a bit more direction than that.
No, that's all we need.
It needs a wee bit more direction than that. It's not just a review. It's to get rid of unethical investments like tobacco, like alcohol, like gambling. All stated in our Auckland plan.
Anyway.
We've got a policy behind it.
Okay, thank you. So we'll all agree that we request. We don't need to pass anything. We're not passing anything. So, and can I remind councillors that we're getting all angst before this fund is returning as negative at the moment. Is that right, John?
I think it's the probably the quarter of the month to June. Look, it probably was negative. I can't quite remember.
Anyway, it's not making us a big deal of money, and it'd be much better spent on sealing roads in Rodney.
Reality is it'll just follow the financial markets, and we are probably better off spending on infrastructure.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, thanks, and we'll move into confidential.